Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Nanette Miner, founder and managing consultant of The Training Doctor. I recently wrote an article for the Construction Management Association of America, and I thought the topic was so important I would share it here as well. The title of the article is How to Cultivate Leadership That Aligns with Your Company's DNA. Now, when you are filling leadership roles, you generally have three options. The first would be to hire externally, which is risky and costly. External folks don't always mesh with the values or the culture of your organization. And if you have to hire multiple leaders from outside your organization, now you're introducing multiple people who have different ways of leading others, multiple styles to contend with. Now, those folks aren't wrong, probably, but they're different than your style. And if they have multiple styles, how are you going to coalesce 3 or 5 different leadership styles? You're just going to have a really disjointed, chaotic leadership team. Your second option would be to identify hypos, people within the organization already that you think have leadership potential. The usual problem with this approach is that we choose those people based on their technical skill. They're very good at what they do. And so we somehow think because you're the best at this, you should manage or lead all the other people who are doing this. I believe they call that the Peter principle. The third option is to purposefully develop your leaders from within based on the values, the goals, and the culture that you've defined for your organization. That approach is the most economical, it's the most sustainable because you can replicate it and because you are completely in control of its outcomes. So here's how to do that in this order. The first thing you want to do is define what a leader looks like in your organization. We're talking temperament, mindset, characteristics. It's not enough to say a leader needs to be trustworthy or dedicated or a hard worker. What does that look like? Define it. Think of Southwest Airlines and their love culture. They even changed the spelling of it because it's so unique to them, right? They spell it LUV. When you join Southwest, you are indoctrinated into that culture. When you are a customer of Southwest, you feel that culture, whether you're on an airplane, in an airline waiting room, on the phone with customer service, you know that if you're dealing with Southwest, you're going to have a pleasant, helpful individual who exudes Southwest's culture. Once you've defined what a leader looks like in your organization, then you can weave those preferred behaviors into your onboarding, mentoring, training, even into your performance appraisals. Step 2 then is to educate your employees about the industry that you're in. The number one lament that I hear from clients or potential clients is we are at a stalemate when it comes to identifying internal leaders because nobody knows enough about the industry. So how can we promote them to a leadership role? To which I always reply, that's on you. How long have they worked here? And why haven't you educated them about the industry? So let them join their professional associations? No. Require them to join their professional associations? And sometimes that's going to be 2, right? Maybe they're a graphic artist or a financial person. They're going to belong to that professional association. And then let's say you work in construction or hospitality or real estate. They're going to belong to those associations as well because they have their profession, which supports them. And then you want them to understand the industry in which they work. Have them join the professional associations and become involved. We don't just want them to be a member because, they want the initials after their name. They should attend monthly meetings. Ideally, they should join the board and help to run that organization. I will tell you that the best leadership development that you will ever get and that you can ever provide to your employees is to allow them to serve on a board of a professional association or a community association. The amount of things that they are responsible for and have to work through with others for the benefit of the good of the organization, the leadership skills learning is incredible. And you don't have to do anything more than say, join your association and join the board and become active. Let them attend any conferences, any webinars that the association might offer. You want them to constantly be learning about and being immersed in the industry in which you work. And then internally, things that you can do to educate them about the industry is offering them site tours, customer visits, have them research and write something about your industry, have them go to municipal meetings if you're in construction. Who understands what that process is? How do we get here to the day that we're breaking ground? What's that process? What does it take? How long does it take? Who makes the decision? And why are there always attorneys and architects involved? Next, you're going to educate them about your business, so they are business savvy. You want to develop business literacy, business intelligence. You can do that through town hall meetings where you bring everybody together and you give them a state of the business report. You could do that quarterly. You can do that monthly. My first job out of college, I joined an office. We had 12 or 15 people in the office, and the company had about 7 offices in our state. Every month, our office managers would go to the headquarter office to get a town hall update. And then they would come back to us and translate that or transmit that information to us. They would tell us about projects that we were working on, how we compared, where we were in terms of our competitors. Where were we ahead of them? Were we behind them? What were the finances of the organization? What did we do this month? How is that, contributing to the quarter? How does that compare to last year? I remember the first 2 months of hearing these reports, sitting in these meetings, thinking to myself, am I supposed to know this? Isn't this supposed to be secret? But knowing that made me feel much more part of the organization. It absolutely made me make better decisions about how I conducted myself because I understood the ramifications. I understood how even my small role could ripple into the outcomes of the organization. Let people sit in on meetings that have nothing to do with their current responsibilities. Maybe they'll sit in on finance discussions, project reviews, safety committee meetings. The important point for you is debrief their experience once the meeting is over. Don't just say, okay, go back to work, but spend another 20, 30 minutes with them. What did you hear? What do you have questions about? What can I explain further? Because in the beginning, all of that information is just going to be whizzing by them, right? They're going to have no context for it. The more they hear it, the more they'll understand it. And the more questions you allow them to ask, the more you'll be able to shape their thinking about things. And that's where the learning comes in that Q&A period at the end. And then finally, make the leadership path known. Too often people have just a job because that's all you provided them, right? And then they leave you for a new opportunity and you think, what? I could have had an opportunity for you here, but you didn't tell them. They didn't know that. So take the time to identify the milestones that need to be achieved to achieve a leadership role in your company. That might be learning. Maybe you want them to get certified in something. Maybe you want them to go to a Management 101 course at the local university. I taught Management 101 for years at a university near me. Maybe it's on the job experiences. They should have at least run a crew for a year or two. They should be a customer or a client liaison. They should work in customer service and hear all the things that people complain about, which will give them more insight into how we serve our customers. Whatever you want those qualifications and milestones to be, you can define them so that you are creating a leader that understands your company, that understands your industry, and that leads in the way that you want leaders in your company to lead others. When you map out that path to leadership, it serves two purposes. The first is it gives your employees an idea of what's possible for their growth. And when they see that there's growth attainable, they're more engaged and they stay with your company. And that's two of the biggest things that all companies are battling these days, right? Retention and engagement. Secondly, it gives you as an owner or an executive the confidence to know that you built your leaders to spec, as it were. Invest in the time to plan, shape, educate, and mentor your future leaders because the ROI is huge and because it is completely in your control.